In this Blender tutorial, I will show you how to use a ColorRamp node outside of a node group. So if you've seen very many of my procedural material tutorials, then you know that I like to join the material together into a custom node group with different custom values. And I use the ColorRamp node in many of my procedural materials, but you can see this ColorRamp node actually only has this factor value right here. And so unlike most other nodes, the ColorRamp node doesn't have these little dots here that you can plug into the group input. So you're not able to easily control the position values of the tabs, and you're not able to control the colors very well. So in this video, I'll show you how you can control the position values of the ColorRamp and also the colors of the tabs of the ColorRamp inside of a node group. Real quick before we start, videos like these are made possible thanks to my supporters, especially my supporters who have purchased my Ultimate Blender Procedural Material Pack. In my Ultimate Procedural Material Pack, you will get all of my procedural materials pre-set up in Blender's asset browser with custom thumbnails, sorted catalogs, and customizable node groups. I'll have a link in the description to the trailer video, and also I'll have links in the description to where you can purchase on the Blender Market and my Gumroad store. You can also purchase all of my procedural materials individually on my Gumroad store and my Patreon page, and you can check out my procedural material packs to purchase packs of 10 materials. And to learn how to create any of my materials, you can check out my procedural material tutorial playlist here on YouTube. So real quick, I'm just going to set up a very basic procedural material as an example, but if you'd like to jump to a certain part of this video, then you can check out the timestamps in the YouTube timeline to find the part you're looking for. So I'm in the shading workspace, so I have the 3D viewport right over here, and I added a cube, and then I also just went into the material preview. And then I have the shader editor right over here, and I'll just click on the new button to add a new material to the cube. And then I'm also going to be using the Node Wrangler add-on in this tutorial to preview the different nodes. So if you don't have the Node Wrangler enabled, you can click on Edit and go to the Preferences, and then over there on the Add-ons tab, just search for Node Wrangler, and you can checkmark the Node Wrangler add-on, and I'll show you how to use it in the video. So you can of course follow along with this tutorial with your own procedural material, but I'm just going to be making a very simple material as an example. So I'll press Shift-A, I'm going to go to the search, and I'm going to search for a noise texture. I'll just drop this here, and then with the noise texture selected, I'll press Ctrl-T, that's using the feature of the Node Wrangler. It's going to add the texture coordinate and mapping, and then I just want to put the object into the vector of the mapping. Then I can take the factor value and I can put that into the base color of the principled shader. And then I want to play around with some of the noise texture settings. So I'll just turn the scale to like a 3.2, and also I want to make it more detailed, so I'll turn the detail to 15, and also the roughness I'll turn to a 0.55 so it has a bit more detail. And I'll also turn the distortion up to 1, so that looks pretty cool. So now I want to add a color ramp to control the colors of the noise texture. So I'll press Shift-A, let's go to the search, and I'm going to search for a color ramp, and let's put the color ramp between the noise texture and the principled shader. So I can now bring these tabs around, and that's going to change the contrast, and then if I click on the tab, I can click here on the colors, and I can change this to whatever colors I want. So if you want to, you can keep this very simple, and you can just have these two tabs with two different colors. I'm going to make this a little bit more complex because I do want to cover more complex setups. So I'm actually going to add 4 tabs. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and click here to add a tab, and then hold down the Control key and click here to add another one. And then I can change the different colors. So for this first color here, I'm just going to make it like a bright red color. And then this second color here, I'm just going to make it like a dark blue. And then this color I'll make a lighter blue. And then this color I'll make a very light blue. And then I'll just kind of drag these around, kind of get it to how I like. So just kind of drag these around and make it more contrasty. So I now want to join this material into a custom node group. So I'm going to click and drag just to box select all the nodes except the material output, and then you can press Ctrl-G, and Ctrl-G will join it together into a node group. Now if you press the tab key with the node group selected, that will go in and out of the node group. So I'm just going to tab to go out of the node group. I can drag this over here, and I can make it a bit bigger, and then I can also rename the node group. And then after I rename it, I can tab to go back into the node group. And if I press the N key, that'll open up the side panel here, and I can click on group. And then right here on the outputs, I'm going to double click on this, and I'm just going to rename it to shader because personally I like that better. So now you could add a bunch of different values to this group input, and then you'd be able to control it outside of the node group. So right here on the color ramp, unfortunately, we don't have these dots here to control the position and the colors. So what I'm going to do is select this color ramp, and I'm going to press Ctrl-Shift-D. So Ctrl-Shift-D will duplicate the node, but it'll keep the wire plugged up. And then because we have 4 different colors here, I want to have 3 different color ramps. Now, if you just have 2 different colors, then you could simply just use one color ramp, but I have 4 colors here, and so I want to use 3 different color ramps. Why I want to use 3 color ramps is because this first color ramp is going to control this color here and this color here. So let's just say this is color 1, and then this is color 2. Then I want to select this color ramp, and I want to press Ctrl-Shift-D, and this color ramp is going to control this color, which we will call color 3. Then I can press Ctrl-Shift-D again to duplicate it one more time, and then this color ramp is going to control this color, and we'll just call this color 4. So colors 1, 2, and 3, and colors 4. So right now these color ramps all look exactly the same, and so what I want to do is just make the colors white and black. And I also want to get rid of the colors which we're not going to be using. So let's just start here at this color ramp. So this color ramp is going to control color 1 and color 2. So we don't need these 2 other colors in the color ramp. So I'm going to click on this tab here, and I will hit the minus button, and then this tab here, hit the minus button. Now it's really important that these 2 colors, so this dark blue and the red, are at the same position values as this red and this blue. And that's why I duplicated them from this color ramp. Now these 3 color ramps we're going to be using as a factor or a mask to tell it where each color is going to be. So I don't want these to have any color. So right here on this blue one, this dark blue, I want to make this fully white. So I'll click on the color, and then if I click here on RGB, I can click and then drag all the way down, and then I can drag over to the right, and that'll just turn these all up, and I actually need to turn this green one up as well. So just make sure that these are all at 1, and now it's fully white. Now click on the red tab, and this one I want to make black. So if I click here on this red color, I can just drag this down to make it fully black. Now we turned on the Node Wrangler add-on earlier in this video, so if I Control-Shift and select this color ramp to preview it, you can see there's the base color of the original color ramp, and then I can Control-Shift and select this color ramp here. And if I go back and forth, you can see this color ramp is now basically a mask of where the red parts are. And then where the white parts are, that is where color 2 is, which is that dark blue. But what I'm going to do now is just Control-Shift and select the principled shader again. So I now want to do pretty much the same thing for these other 2 color ramps, but this color ramp is going to be color 3, and then this color ramp is going to be color 4. So since this second one is color 3, I want to click on this color here. Let's hit the minus to get rid of it. And then this color here I want to keep, so I want to go over to this color here, and I want to hit the minus to get rid of it. So now we have color 2 and color 3, whereas this one had color 1 and color 2. So on this second color ramp now, we need to make this one white and this one black, just like we did for these colors. So on this color here, let's click on this, and I can click and drag down and then let go, and I could actually just type in 1 and then enter, and that's going to make it white. And then let's click on this one here, and this one I want to make fully black, so I'll just turn that to black. So now I can Control-Shift and select this color ramp, and this is going to give us a factor for where the third color is. So I can Control-Shift and select this one. This is going to be color 1 and then color 2, and then this one will be color 3. So I want to do the same thing for this color ramp here. So just to preview it, I can Control-Shift and select this color ramp. So now let's do pretty much the same thing. So I'll click on this red one here. I can click at the minus to get rid of it. And this one here, I can click on the minus to get rid of it. So now we just have color 3 and then color 4. So on this one here, I'm going to make this fully black. And then this tab right here, if you click on this one I want to be fully white. So I'll click here. I can click and drag down and then let go, and I can just type 1 and enter, so that they are all 1, and now it is a white color. So if this sounds kind of confusing, maybe a better way to think about it is that the white values are going to be each one of these colors, except for the first one, and that's going to be this black color here. But all these other colors are going to be the white tabs of these other color ramps. So now that we have all 3 of these masks, we can join them together with mixed nodes. So I'll press Shift A, let's go to the search, and I'm going to add the mix node. Let's drop this here, and then we're working with color values, so I want to click on the float and I want to change it instead to color. So we can drag this down here, and the first one that we want to add is this color ramp here, because this color ramp is going to tell it what is going to be color 1 and color 2. So we want to take the color and we want to put that into the factor of this mix, and then I can Control-Shift and select the mix. So as I was mentioning, these color ramps here, they're basically acting like a factor or a mask to tell it where it's going to be color A and where it's going to be color B. So we can now just copy the same colors from our original color ramp. So what I can actually do is just click and drag on the color, and you can see it's going to add this like drop color, and I can drag and then just drop this on color A, and then I can click here on the second color here, and I can click and drag on the dark blue, and I can drop this into B. So now if I hold down the Control and Shift key and click back and forth between the mix and the color ramp, you can see this mix is now showing us the correct values of where it's pink and then where it's the blue. And you can see if I Control, Shift, and select between them, that does look correct. So I can now do that, and I can add in the other color ramps. So I can click on this mix, I can press Shift D to duplicate, and let's drop it here. And then I can Control, Shift, and select this mix to preview it. Now for this one, I want to mix this mix with this color ramp. And then I want to add the next color, which is color 3, which is this mid blue color. So I can first take this mix and I can put it into A, and then for color B, I want it to be the third color. So I can click right here to select this color, and I can click and drag, and I can drop this color into color B. So now we need to tell it where it's going to be color B and where it's going to be color A, which are these colors. So this color ramp is acting like a mask, so we can put the color into the factor. And the white and black values are telling it where it's going to be color A and where it's going to be color B. And there we go, so we now have this lighter color. So we can just do the same thing for the last color. So I'll select this mix and I will press Shift D to duplicate it. Let's drop it here. So we want to join all of these together with the last mix. So this result here can go into color A, and then here on color B, we can add in the last color, which is this light blue. So I'll click on the light blue, I can click and drag, and I can drop the color into color B, and then I also want to Control Shift and select this mix to preview it, and then again we need some sort of factor to tell it where it's going to be A and where it's going to be B. So that's where this color ramp comes in, so this color can go into the factor. And you can see if I Control Shift and select between them, you can see they look exactly the same. But why this is helpful now is because we have each one of these colors, and we can plug these colors into the group input. So I'm going to take the group input, and I'm just going to drag this over here, and then I can take color A, this red one, let's put that in there, and color B, and then also this one here, I can drag this into the extra slot. And finally, this last one, I can drag it into the extra slot. So now if I hit the tab key to go out of the node group, you can see we have all the different colors. And so I can drag this around and it's going to change the colors. So let's just tab to go back into the node group. And then what I want to do is just click and drag to box select these nodes here. And I want to bring them back. And we don't want to use this color ramp anymore, but I just want to leave it here just in case I need to go back to it. So I can take this mix here, and I can replace the result into the base color of the shader. And then I can just Control Shift and select the principled shader to preview it. And then also right up here on the inputs, we can rename these. So instead of them being called A and B, I can double click here on the inputs to rename these. So I've just named all the colors, color 1s through 4. So now I can tab to go out of the node group, and there's a temporary viewer. So to get rid of that, I can just Control Shift and select the shader. And now we have all the different custom colors. So we can change this one, color 1 and color 2, and we can change all the colors. All right, so this is the first part of controlling the color ramp. But if I tab to go back into the node group, what if I want to control the position values? So I'm going to show you now how to control the position values. And to do that, we're going to be setting up some basic drivers. Now we don't actually want to add the drivers to this color ramp because this was the old color ramp. We now have these color ramps which are controlling the values. So if I drag these around, you can see it's going to control the different values. So you can add drivers to any of these position values. I'm just going to be adding one driver to each one of these colors, but you could add them to every single tab if you wanted to. So let me show you how to do that. So what I first want to do is create a value which is going to control the position values of the color ramp. So if you click here on the group input, right here on the inputs, we need to add some sort of value that we can use to control these other values. So right here, if you click on color 1, I can click on the plus here, and that is going to add another value right after it. And you can see right here in the group input, there is that other value. Now I can double click on this to rename it, and I'm going to rename it to color 1 position. And then right now you can see there is a yellow dot right there, and so that is telling us that it's color data, but instead of it it being color data, I want it to be a number data instead, because this position value here, or actually it's this one down here, this one is a number data. So let's click here on color one position, and here on the type, I want to change this to float instead. So now if I tab to go out of the node group, you can see we have color one position. Now there isn't anything which is going into this position value, and that is actually what we want. We don't want anything controlling this position because we're going to be instead using a driver. So let's tab to go out of the node group, and right here on this color one position, I first want to get this data of this value. So I'm going to right click on this position, and then I want to click on copy data path. And just to show you what this is doing, I've brought up a text file on my computer, and I'll press Ctrl V just to paste that data. So you can see this data here, that is the data that Blender needs to know what value that we're using. When we right clicked on this and clicked on copy data path, that copied that bit of text. So I can now tab to go into the node group. Now you could really add the driver to any one of these, but I want to add it to this black one here. So I'm going to click on this black tab here, and then right here on this position value, this is where I want to add the driver. So I'm going to right click on this position value, and then I can click on add driver. Now right here there is a type, and I want to click on this, and I want to change it to some values because some values is number data. Now right down here we have some variables, and I actually want to delete the default variable and add a new one. So I can click on the X button right here. Now I can click on the add input variable to add a new one, and when we add a new one, you can see that there is this button right here after the prop. So if I click on this, this is going to give us an ID type, and because we are working with materials, you just want to click on material. And the material that we want to add is this procedural material right here. So we want to add this procedural material into the driver. Now if the driver goes away, that's totally fine. You can just right click on the position value here, and it's purple, and the purple value is telling us that it has a driver applied to it. So I can just right click again, and then click on edit driver, and you can see the driver properties will come right back. So right here on this prop, we want to choose this current material. So you can click right here, and this is the procedural material that I'm using. I just want to add this procedural material. Now we have a path, and the path is the data that we copied earlier. So it's that bit of text which we copied. So I can just click on this path, and then you can press Ctrl V and then hit enter, and that is going to paste the bit of text into the path. And then just to make sure it's working, you can click on the Update Dependencies button. Now, if you look at the procedural material, you can see it doesn't look correct. The pink is very faded, and that's because the position value got turned back to 0. So what I want to do right here on this color ramp is I want to go to this position value, and you can see the position value is 0.28. So I'm just going to hover my mouse over this value and press Ctrl C to copy the value, and then I can hit the tab key to go out of the node group. So now right here in this color one position, I can press Ctrl V, and that will paste that value in there. And now I can just drag this position value around, and it's going to control the strength of that red color. And you can also hold down the shift key to make your movements more sensitive. So if I turn this way up, make it really strong. Now if I tab to go into the node group and go right up here, you can see it has moved the black tab over. I'll press Ctrl Z to bring that back to the default value. So we now just need to do that exact same thing for color 2, color 3, and color 4. And as I mentioned, you could add drivers to all of these values here, so all of these white and black tabs. I'm just going to add it to some of them. So let's do the same exact thing. So I'm going to do the next one, which is color 2. So I'll click here on color 2. I can click on the plus here to add a new one, and it'll add it down here, and then I can just rename this. And I'll rename this to color 2 position, and then I want to click on the type here, and I want to change it to float instead. So now if I go to this color ramp right here, the second color ramp, if I drag that around, that is going to control the next color. So I can tab to go out of the node group. Right here on color 2 position, I will right click, and then I can click on copy data path. Then I can tab to go back into the node group, and I can select the black tab, and here in the position, I can right click, and then I can click on add driver. And then we want to do the same exact thing. So right here on type, I want to click on the type, and I want to change it to some values because we are working with number values. Then I want to click on the X button here to get rid of this variable. I can click on the plus to add a new variable. And then if I click here on this, I want to change it to material because we're working with materials. And then if you click right here, again, you just need to choose the current material that you're using. Then right here, we can add the path which we just copied earlier. So if I click click on the path, I can press Ctrl V and then enter to paste that text. And then I can just click on update dependencies to make sure it's working. And then right here, you can see it's moved back to 0. So if I go right down here to the original color ramp, I can click on this blue tab here and you can see there is a position value. So I will just press Ctrl C with my mouse hovered over this value, and then I can tab to go out of the node group. And then here on color to position, I can press Ctrl V to paste that value. So now I can drag this around and that is working great. So I'll just do the same thing, and this time I'll do it a little bit faster, but hopefully now you're kind of getting the idea of how it works. So I will tab to go into the node group. Here on color 3, I'll click on this and click on the plus to add a new one, and then I can rename this. And I'll make it color 3 position. And then here on color 3 position, I want to change the type to float. So I can now tab to go out of the node group. I can right click right here and I can click on copy data path, and then I can tab to go back into the node group. Now for this one, I actually want to change this white value, because if I drag this white value around, you can see it's controlling the lighter blue. So on this position value, I can right click, I can add driver. Right here on the type, we want to change this to some values. We want to delete the variable and then add a new variable. We want to click here on the prop and we want to change the ID type to material. And then if you click here, you can select the current material you're using. Then you can click on the path. You can press Ctrl V to paste that data and hit enter, and then just update the dependencies. So if I tab to go out of the node group, you can see color 3 position has been turned to 0. So if I tab to go back into the node group, I want to click here on the light blue, and I want to hover my mouse over the position and press Ctrl C to copy, and then tab to go out of the node group, and I can press Ctrl V to paste that position. And there we go, now I can drag this around. So let's do that one more time. So I'll tab to go into the node group, and right here I want to click on color 4, and I want to click on the plus here to make a new color here, and I want to rename this one to color 4 position. Then here on color 4, I want to click on the type here and I want to change it to float. So for this one, we want to add it to this last color ramp because that is controlling the very light blue. So I will tab to go out of the node group. Here on the color 4 position, I can right click, I can click on copy data path, and then I can go into the node group, and here on the black tab, I can right click on the position, I can add a driver, and then here on the type, we want to change this to some values, and I want to delete the variable, and then I want to add a new variable, and I want to change the ID type to material, and then on the material, you just want to select the current material that you're using. And then on the path, you can click here, Ctrl V to paste the value and enter, so it pastes the data there, and then update dependencies. And then it's brought the position value back to 0. So again, we want to go here, we want to click on this color ramp, we want to copy the data. I can then tab to go out of the node group, and here on position 4, I can press Ctrl V to paste that. And then I can just drag this around. And I'm holding down the shift key to make my movements more sensitive. And so that is how you can control a color ramp outside of a node group. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and thank you for watching. And if you'd like to purchase this exact file here to kind of look into the blend file and kind of see what I've done, then you can purchase the project files on my Gumroad store, and you can also get the project files on my Patreon page. And if you'd like to purchase all of my procedural materials, then you can definitely check out my ultimate material pack, and you can also check out my procedural material packs to purchase packs of 10 materials. And if you'd like to learn how to create any of my procedural materials, you can check out my procedural material tutorial playlist here on YouTube. But I hope you found this video helpful, and thank you for watching.